There's no denying it. Eustace Conway is the kind of man no true risk-taker could ever dismiss. His wild and fearless adventures have lit up the imaginations of countless youths over the years. Thanks to him, we grew up hearing exhilarating stories that felt straight out of a frontier novel. Tales of Conway surviving on the most treacherous mountains, going entire days without a single bite to eat, and thriving in environments most people wouldn't dare step foot in, became legendary. His rugged charm, deep love for nature, impressive ecological knowledge amazed audiences across the board. Yet lately, whispers have begun to circulate about Eustace's whereabouts. The rumor mill churned out stories claiming he disappeared into the hills one day and never returned. Some feared the worst, wondering whether he'd met with a tragic accident or lost his way in the wilderness. Given how comfortable he was taking extreme risks, the concern wasn't unfounded. But before we jump to conclusions, it's time to settle in and uncover the real reason behind Eustace Conway's mysterious disappearance from mountain men. The truth may be shocking, but it's a story you'll want to follow to the very end. Let's begin at the start. Eustace Conway was born in 1961 in South Carolina, one of 6 members in his immediate family. From an early age, the natural world held a magnetic pull on him. As a young and spirited boy, Eustace could often be found exploring the woods and fields that surrounded his home. His passion for the outdoors only grew stronger over time. At just 17 years old, Eustace made a life-altering decision. He dropped out of high school and chose to live in a teepee deep within the forest. It was there that he committed to a life of complete harmony with nature, in that rustic setting. Eustace quickly picked up the essential skills needed to survive on his own. He built shelters, started fires from scratch, and relied entirely on hunting and fishing to feed himself. His unwavering dedication and fierce love for the wilderness turned him into something of a living legend. Word spread about his unique lifestyle and extraordinary capabilities. And soon, people began seeking him out for advice, not just on survival, but on everything from land values to trapping techniques. As his reputation grew, Eustace's charisma and authenticity caught the attention of media outlets. He began appearing in television shows and documentaries, showcasing his off-grid lifestyle and sharing his knowledge with a wider audience. Despite his growing fame, Eustace remained grounded in his mission to live sustainably and teach others to do the same. His early experiences working on farms helped solidify this foundation. But it wasn't until his 20s that his life path truly came into focus. Eustace's big break came in 1987, when a New York Times article highlighted his remarkable way of life. The story gave him national visibility, though he was already a folk hero in his local community. Still, Eustace dreamed even bigger, determined to bring his vision to life. He founded his very own wilderness academy, Turtle Island Preserve, nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. The property, spanning 1,000 acres, became a sanctuary for people eager to learn sustainable living practices, wilderness survival skills, and traditional craftsmanship. However, Eustace's path wasn't without obstacles. In 1998, he found himself in a legal battle with local authorities over land use and building codes. Forced to shut down the school, Eustace fought back, taking the case all the way to the Supreme Court. Though the legal proceedings were long and difficult, he eventually won a partial victory, allowing him to reopen and continue his mission. Throughout it all, he never lost sight of his dream to inspire others and defend the environment as he continued his work and gained more visibility. Eustace Conway became a central figure on the hit show Mountain Men. Viewers were captivated by his unconventional lifestyle, survival abilities, and deep connection to the natural world. Yet during the show's run, something unexpected happened. Eustace vanished from the spotlight. Fans were baffled. Why would someone so devoted to the wilderness and so loved by audiences simply walk away? To understand, we need to revisit a critical moment in the show's history. Eustace and his dear friend Preston Roberts were filming in the unforgiving terrain of the Blue Ridge Mountains. What was meant to be a routine delivery of lumber took a dangerous turn. As they ascended a steep slope, their vehicle encountered a mechanical problem. They pulled off to the side, and knelt down to inspect the issue, unaware that fate had other plans. The truck suddenly began to slide, and despite their efforts, it slipped away uncontrollably. Eustace's face reflected the sheer panic and helplessness of that moment. The sound of the engine fading into the distance echoed through the mountains. Both men stood in stunned silence, powerless to stop what had just occurred. Though the two survived, the experience was emotionally devastating. Not long after, tragedy struck. Preston Roberts, Eustace's closest companion, was diagnosed with an aggressive, inoperable liver cancer. He passed away shortly after. The loss of Preston hit Eustace hard. It wasn't just the passing of a friend. It felt like losing a part of himself. This grief may have been what finally drove Eustace to step away from the program. The emotional toll, coupled with the pressures of filming and fame, likely became too much. Fans were blindsided. The idea that Eustace might never return left a void in the hearts of those who had followed his journey. His unique blend of rugged skills and magnetic personality had become a cornerstone of mountain men, but Conway's story didn't end there. In 1998, he and his companions documented their cross-country travels in an episode of This American Life titled Adventures in the Simple Life, where they recorded real-time audio using handheld devices. Later in 2003, filmmaker Jack Bebo released Full Circle, a life story of Eustace Conway, a documentary that further cemented his legendary status. He was also one of the 4 key interviews featured in the 2012 documentary, Reconvergence by Edward Tyndall. In November 2012, however, Turtle Island Preserve once again faced shutdowns. This time, officials claimed the traditional buildings violated modern construction laws. Although Eustace sought a resolution through the North Carolina Building Code Council, trouble escalated when he was arrested for trespassing during a property dispute with a neighbor. Despite these setbacks, a turning point came in June 2013. The North Carolina General Assembly passed House Bill 774, signed into law by Governor Pat McCrory, allowing exceptions for primitive structures, finally providing a legal path forward. For Conway's Academy, when asked whether he would continue appearing on Mountain Men, Eustace gave a vague answer, hinting that he might step away permanently. This left fans anxious and uncertain about the show's future without him. But just as viewers were coming to terms with his possible departure, the new season's cast list was released, and to everyone's surprise, Eustace Conway was back. Fans rejoiced at the news, thrilled to see their beloved mountain man return. His financial success also stunned many. Questions began swirling about how someone so deeply rooted in nature managed to accumulate such wealth. Some speculated whether it was solely from defending the environment or if mountain men played a significant role. The truth is, Eustace built more than just a brand. He created a thriving environmental academy that drew visitors from all walks of life. With over 49,000 followers on social media, his reach extended far beyond the television screen. Turtle Island, his 1,000-acre sanctuary, isn't just land, it's his spiritual home, his personal Eden, and the core of his belief system. Point: he was offered $20 million for it, 10 times its estimated value, but he refused. To Eustace, no amount of money could replace the sacred connection he has with that land. So, what is Eustace Conway up to now, in 2023? He remains deeply involved in education and outdoor adventure. One of his latest accomplishments is the creation of a groundbreaking wilderness curriculum at Turtle Island. This wilderness university includes hands-on training in ancient skills, sustainable living practices, and real-world survival techniques. Recently, he was invited to speak at a prominent ecological conference in Europe, where he shared his vision for a future where humanity lives in balance with nature. The enthusiastic response has led to even more invitations, proving that Eustace Conway's influence and his mission is far from over. Throughout his life, Eustace Conway has experienced both extraordinary achievements and deep, difficult trials. His story is a vivid example of the highs and lows that come with choosing a life outside the norm. One of the most significant challenges he faced was a tense legal battle with local authorities who tried to shut down his educational institution. But Eustace remained unwavering in his mission. What kept him going wasn't fame or fortune, was his unshakable commitment to his values and his profound love for nature. Through his work at Turtle Island Preserve, he created a living example of sustainable, environmentally responsible living. Over time, he became widely regarded as one of the leading voices in traditional survival skills and living close to the land in a modern world. Eustace's life is a testament to what's possible. When someone stays true to their unique path, no matter how unconventional it may seem, his persistence, despite the odds, reveals a deep inner strength. Meanwhile, in the rugged world of wilderness survival, another name echoes powerfully: Tom, or, thanks to his appearances on the popular show Mountain Men, Tom gained international recognition for his grit, survival expertise, and deep spiritual connection with the natural world. But behind his rugged reputation lies a life filled with both triumph and sorrow. Those experiences shaped him into the figure fans admired on screen. Beneath the tough exterior is a life rich in meaning, one that celebrates individuality and self-reliance. Eustace, in many ways, represents the voice of the earth itself. Many see him as a living advocate for the planet, and his passion for environmental stewardship runs deep. On his 31st birthday, famed wildlife artist Sally Middleton once told him, "You are the most interesting man I have ever met." Perhaps she said that because Eustace didn't just dream of a different kind of life, he lived it. Like Henry David Thoreau before him, Eustace retreated into the forest, seeking clarity and purpose in solitude. His goal was to focus on what truly mattered and avoid the crushing regret of realizing too late that he'd wasted his precious time on Earth. For over 4 decades, Eustace has made the wilderness his home. He learned by doing, often in extreme and creative ways. For example, when he accidentally sliced his thumb open, he used medicinal plants to treat the wound and then stitched it together himself, 12 stitches in total. Resourcefulness and grit are unmatched. Dr. Harvard S.S., professor of anthropology at Appalachian State University, once called Eustace an articulate student of life. At his graduation, Eustace was named the university's most outstanding anthropology senior. He holds degrees in both anthropology and English. But his true classroom has always been the great outdoors. Eustace thrives in nature. He welcomes the cold and the rain like old friends. He often quotes actor Steve McQueen's famous line, "I'd rather wake up in the middle of nowhere than in any city in the world," and then breaks into a warm smile. That sentiment has guided him since he was young. At just 12 years old, he set out alone on a camping trip into the highlands. By age 17, he had left home completely and chose to live in a traditional Indian teepee. For the next 17 winters, he lived there alone, crafting his own clothes from buckskin and making his own gear. At 18, Eustace paddled 1,000 miles down the Mississippi River, then walked the entire 2,000-mile Appalachian Trail, not stopping. There, he kayaked along the southern coast of Alaska, surrounded by whales and drifting icebergs. Over the years, he's covered nearly 5,000 miles of pristine wilderness across continents, from the lush rainforests of South America to the arid deserts of Australia and the green landscapes of New Zealand and Europe. During his travels, he lived among Native American communities, working with various tribes to honor and preserve their ancient traditions. Eustace also served in roles that deepened his understanding of cultural and natural heritage. He worked as the state naturalist at Crowder Mountain Park in North Carolina and as a federal interpreter at Chaco Canyon National Park in New Mexico. Though these parks are now associated with Virginia, they shaped Eustace's mission of blending activism with education. He is a man of both action and vision, a dreamer who builds the future with his own hands. He respects the stories and backgrounds of everyone he meets and celebrates the rich diversity of human experience. Eustace often speaks about how deeply connected we are to the natural world, referring to life as a circle in which all things are interrelated. "The natural environment is the inspiration behind all of my lessons," he explains. He believes that in our modern world, we can still live in balance with nature. His greatest inspiration has come from Native American customs, which offer wisdom and direction for living in harmony with the earth. by sharing his knowledge in natural settings. Eustace offers students hands-on experiences that reveal humanity's place in the vast web of life as a communicator and teacher. Eustace Conway has a rare talent for captivating his audience. He speaks with eloquence and insight, often drawing on his incredible life stories to educate and entertain. One unforgettable moment was when a black snake climbed up his back and stayed there for 20 minutes, before silently slipping away. One of many anecdotes that reflect his unique relationship with nature. No one could credibly teach this way of life without living it first. Eustace owns 1,000 acres of pristine wilderness, and visitors drive past a sign that reads "No shirt, no shoes, no problem," before entering his lush preserve. The land itself tells a story. A gentle creek winds through the forested valley, and hills covered with ancient trees surround the area. Turtle Island Preserve is not just a school, it's a sanctuary. The base camp, without electricity, serves as the launch point for deep wilderness experiences. According to Eustace, the very trail they walk has been used for hunting and camping since Daniel Boone climbed the same cliffs, making it hundreds of years old. Along the way, visitors see relics of the past stone walls, old foundations, and even a sawmill from the 1920s. Eustace built the first blacksmith shop on Turtle Island using stones from a previous structure that once stood there. He recently completed a massive wooden building filled with hearths and anvils for classroom use. He tells the story of how people used to take buildings apart and move them, which is how an older structure from this site ended up in Boone, where it still stands as a barn. Former landowner's family even gave Eustace a 90-year-old harness that had been used on the property. Today, he still uses it on his farm. So does Eustace make a living from all this? Says Yezi has everything anyone could need to survive. He grows, forages, and hunts his own food and builds his own shelter. From a very young age, he committed himself to preserving forgotten values and traditions. That's why he created Turtle Island as a learning institution. Something I've always wanted to do, he says. And I want others to be part of it too. Word spread, and Eustace became a living example of what it means to walk the talk. Eustace comes from a long line of educators. All three of his paternal grandparents were teachers. His grandfather, Chief Johnson, was a pioneering figure in American camping and founded Camp Sequoia in 1924. The foundation of Turtle Island's program is rooted in the innovative principles of Sequoia, which continue to influence generations. Eustace's mother spent her childhood in a log house at Camp Sequoia, warmed by a giant stone fireplace. Growing up surrounded by nature gave her a deep well of knowledge. After earning her master's degree in education, she became a teacher. As well, Eustace's father, a professor of chemical engineering, was also a man of the outdoors. He once hiked 50 kilometers of mountainous terrain in a single day, a feat that inspired young Eustace. As a boy, he was often taken to the doctor by his dad, who believed every experience could teach something valuable. At just 4 years old, Eustace nearly capsized during an intense whitewater canoe trip. These early life lessons nurtured a thirst for discovery and a lifelong desire to teach. Turtle Island Preserve, located near Boone, North Carolina, sits on 1,000 acres of wilderness. Founded in 1987, it became the fulfillment of Eustace's lifelong dream. Today, the preserve serves as both an environmental education center and a wildlife refuge. If Eustace had his way, he would use the preserve to promote global peace through a simple, powerful curriculum, one that teaches us to value the people, places, and experiences that make life meaningful. He often quotes Emerson's words with pride. "What you do speaks so loud that I cannot hear what you say." Eustace Conway's journey is one of grit, self-reliance, and commitment to purpose. Whether dealing with legal battles, personal hardships, or the unpredictable modern world, he stands firm in his beliefs. While the future of his television career remains uncertain, the message he lives by remains timeless: independence, sustainability, and harmony with nature. So what comes next for Eustace Conway? Will he return to reality television or continue his quiet revolution at Turtle Island Preserve? Time will tell, but his legacy as a modern-day mountain man is already secure.